Ladies and gentlemen, the money gets bigger, stakes get higher, and the legends grow. Leaving out of Bodilia at number 3 on In My Yayo. You know Bodilia, I've been hearing that name seem like since first grade. Cause I was a kid everywhere you went, Bodilia. But this next name, coming in at number 2, it gets no bigger. You feel me? It's Big Isaac Hicks. Heard a lot of myths about Isaac Hicks. Heard about his 50-bedroom mansion. Heard about a lot of money, a lot of work. R.I.P. to Isaac Hicks. Gets no bigger, baby. This In My Yayo. Check it out. Big Eye.
Ike was a big man. Ike did his thing. Ike existed during a time when he was like among the first. He was among the first that was incredibly strong. It was, you know, I watched Ike build a lot of houses, and I was a kid coming up, but I watched him do his thing till the point of, you know, invincibility. You know, some people get enough money where they feel like they're invincible. Thing where Ike found out he wasn't invincible, you know, he made a statement, you know, if I'm doing something, prove it.
Isaac Hicks was a very good man. When I first met him, he was in the gardening business. He went there to own a construction company. And he was a big help to a lot of the fellows in the neighborhood. He gave a lot of guys jobs. And a lot of guys are not surviving now because Ike is gone.
Ike was another country boy. Good man, very good man. I've never heard nothing really bad about Ike, nothing.
Big Ike, he was the man until his untimely death or whatnot, which is unfortunate. But he was very popular. He had the club down in Liberty City called Heart of the City.
Originally, it was a big movie theater. Because I remember I went there to the movies, and then I guess it didn't pan out too well with the movie, and Ike and they bought it. I forget who else was in it, but I know Ike was probably the principal in it, and they bought it.
I know I wasn't old enough to get in, but I snuck in. I walked in with a group of people, and I was with them, even though I was perpetrating. I ain't had no mustache, no beard or nothing, but I walked in, and every time, I think the second lady walked up to me and said, "Boy, what you doing in here?" "I'm gonna tell your mama." I knew right there it was time to exit. I was out of there then. But they had the hottest club at that particular time.
It was plush. You know, it was nice. You could tell he spent money in it.
A lot of you guys might remember Heart of the City, but that was one of our more classic landmarks. Everybody, all the hustlers got dressed up. We going to the opening of the Heart of the City. And the hustlers came out doing their thing.
When I say it was ballerific and stuntastic, that's when I found out what a baller was. When I seen brothers coming in, the Benzes and everything, the Cadillac, that's what Cadillac with shoes and Vogues was out. When they had the angel in front like this. I'm talking about back in them days.
The Heart of the City turned out to be a failure because the people in charge of production tried to bring in the big people before they started making money. So this caused the Heart of the City to collapse.
Well, most of the time Ike wore Dickies because he was a builder. So he'll go out in his Dickies and, you know, classic Miami hustler gear, you know, Dickies.
You really couldn't tell he had money, you know, because all he wore was khakis, and he'd wear a nice piece of jewelry. You know, he'd wear some on his wrist, a Springer, and some around his neck.
He always dressed like a handyman. He wasn't a fancy dresser. Maybe once in a while, if he went to a club, he may put an outfit on.
He dressed up on big functions. The opening of the Heart of the City, Ike wore a big Rolls Royce grill. It was incredible. This sucker was about this big. So, I mean, you know, that's the kind of money that the guys had down here.
Ike might have been a little bit more flashy than Rick, and louder than Rick. Rick was like quiet. You never really hear Rick talk. But Ike, on the other hand, he let you know, I'm in the house. You know, stuff like, he wasn't no obnoxiously loud, but I'm in the house. You know, Ike just came in. Like I said, when you're a nightclub owner, you know, working in a nightclub, that's the thing you do.
You ever met Big Ike?
Oh, yeah. I done met him. Yeah. I used to go to his house when he had all them guys working for him. Me and my boyfriend used to go catch fish all the time. We canned fish and rabbits and stuff over there. You know, a long time, you know, I go, but I didn't know you know my son. But, and he didn't know I was dear mama. I guess he said, what dear mama do I speak?
That's when I realized what a big house was. You know, I'm going home and I thought our house was all right. You know, 3-bedroom house back in them days, I thought it was all right. And then when I seen something like that, 2 stories, a black man got a 2-story house, that's what, you know, then right then I said to myself, I can't be broke all my life. I got to get my stuff together.
We had a Thunderbird one time. It may have been a 62 or 63 Thunderbird. He had a old Cadillac one time, which might have been maybe a 81, 82. He did not have a new car. I never saw him in a new car.
I represented the old queen of the hood, you know what I'm saying? Niggas just been getting money for years, don't bother nobody. You sleep on this type of nigga here, you know, he's overall type wearing nigga, Jerry Curl, real country. Nigga got so much money he can't even count it.
I didn't need a lot of muscle. He wasn't that kind of dude. But he had his sons. I had you know, his sons was all the muscle he needed because his sons was, I guess they had their little mob.
Well, the community think that he got a raw deal. They think he accused him of things he really wasn't doing. I think a lot of trouble came because he associated with a lot of people he should not have been associating with. But I think he got a bad charge put against him.
The detectives say they've traced the drugs back to you, back to your home.
Well, they lied. Wish I could have caught them detectives killing my dog.
The last time Isaac Hicks got in trouble with the law, it took a SWAT team to get into his house. Hicks's dogs were also killed during the storming. Hicks had yet to go to trial in that drug conspiracy case when he was arrested last night for an even bigger charge. This time, police found 23 pounds of coke in a house agents say he used for distributing and repackaging cocaine, most of which police say ended up in the black community.
As far as DEA is concerned, Isaac Hicks is one of the major distributors of cocaine in one of our communities here in South Florida.
But Hicks had friends in high places as well. Former Opelika Mayor John Riley was picked up in a wiretap on Hicks's home. Reference to Hicks were also picked up during a wiretap on Riley's home, but no charges were ever filed against Riley. Hicks's wife Janet was also jailed during the drug raid. She and 2 Hicks associates, one James Sawyer, a man police call the Boss Men, are charged with possession with intent to distribute cocaine. Hicks's attorney says the charges that his client is a big drug dealer are ludicrous.
Well, I always laugh when I hear statements like that because if they know that, then I'm surprised to find out they haven't arrested whoever this other mythical person is. And of course, it also presumes that police know who drug traffickers are. If they knew that, I hope that they would be getting them off the streets.
Hicks will remain in custody without bond.
Now, I don't know how true it is. This is what was told to me. He had a friend, that Spanish dude that got killed. And he went to the dude's house and this blocks was, you know, I guess the wife knew about the blocks. And they were just stacked all up in there. And I think she was giving them to him for like $5 grand a key. That's how he died. You know.
Basically, he just was a guy, he was a hustler. He was a hustler who knew what he wanted, but you know, this life we live don't often give us what we want.
When they came to get Ike, they confiscated like about 32 houses, I think, from Ike. You know what I'm saying? They took that shit over there called the Palace. That's like, that nigga owned the whole block. That just was a nigga that just had money. You own this little construction company and shit. Niggas know about Ike. Ike probably had more money than any nigga that ever graced the surface of Dade County streets as a black man. Ike.
in giving back, Ike just probably helped a lot of people. See, a lot of people don't give us credit for the people that we help. And I don't think we do it for credit. It's just sometimes we blessed with incredible sums of money, and it seems like it's the right thing to contribute. He probably contributed to all kind of things. I was not his right hand, so I can't just tell you each and everything that he did, but I know several people. He probably saved a lot of households. He probably helped a lot of people. Most of them did, because when you blessed to have, you got to also be a giver. You know, so I'm pretty sure Ike probably helped a lot of churches. This was his neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? Got to contribute to your neighborhood. That's how you stay eating.
Well, if he was still around, a lot of people would still have jobs, and he would be very helpful to the community. A lot of people believed in him, and he had a lot of followers.
Just an older gentleman who was getting the money. He kind of laid foundation for young guys to look at. This is what you could do. You can take your money, you can go invest in land and property. That was his thing. International Builders, I think, was the name of his company. Ike had a lot of kids. Ike and his wife both died in prison, you know, but I think he left a legacy out here of kids to follow and just try to live in his dream.
When we found out that he died from AIDS, we were very sad. The whole community was very sad, because a lot of people did not think that he had AIDS when he went to prison. So once you go to prison, they can give you what they want to give you.
I gotta sit up for this. We down to the number one. The biggest boss of them all. And this is most definitely the biggest boss of them all. I'm talking about Willie Falcone. The Falcone organization grossed more than $3 billion over a 10-year span. It was rumored that Willie Falcone could make Pablo Escobar wash his car. It's a rumor. I know one thing. Willie Falcone built Miami. Built a lot of hotels you sleep in, a lot of strips. Made a lot of car lots rich. Gets no more richer, no more wealthier. No more treacherous, no more deadly. And the number one man on that, my yayo, that's Willie Falcone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the number one man.
Well, you can't say nothing about Willie Falcone without saying something about Sal Galuda.
Falcone loved the good life, loved to race along in number 20. Of course, he was able to finance his high style of living by importing cocaine, federal agents claim. His coke dealing ring was reportedly the largest on the East Coast and one of the top 5 in the world. Until the day Falcone and alleged Lieutenants Salvador Magluta and Lorenzo Beningo were arrested and charged with smuggling nearly 75 tons of cocaine into South Florida. The feds were delighted. They seized nearly $2.1 billion worth of property as they prepared their case against the Falcone Group.
Building a case against the infamous and alleged drug kingpins Sal Magluta and Willie Falcone, along with 10 alleged associates, accused of working together to keep the cops and the courts off their tails at all costs.
They've done it by murder, by threats, by intimidation, everything that our system of justice says shouldn't happen. And they had unlimited resources to do it.
The charges in Friday's indictment center around Magluta and Falcone's drug trafficking trial back in '96. They were acquitted of smuggling 75 tons of cocaine into the U.S., accused of amassing $2 billion in assets over a 13-year period. The jury foreman in the trial, Miguel Moya, was convicted of taking a $400,000 bribe to return a not guilty verdict for Magluta and Falcone.
2 high school dropout millionaires. The police call the biggest and the best cocaine smugglers in South Florida history.
Them two went to Miami High. the reason they got so much notoriety is because they were into them boat racing, and which, you know, high profile, and they had them cigarettes which back then they were outrunning everything that the Coast Guard had. So, you know, they was bringing it in, you know, because at one point in time I think they had them work for 300 to 900 million.
And I just hope that our justice system respects the system and respects that a jury found us not guilty. We went to trial. We did it the way this country and this Constitution was meant.
Willie Falcone and Sal Magluta have been acquitted on drug smuggling charges, but that doesn't mean the federal government is giving up. Prosecutors are fighting to keep them behind bars. Defense attorneys say the feds are going too far.
It's now gone beyond the stage of legitimacy into more of an obsession and a personal battle.
Falcone and Magluta are still locked up, awaiting a money laundering trial in Jacksonville. Their attorneys tried to get them out of jail on bond today, but their efforts failed when prosecutors put up a fight, arguing the men shouldn't be released.
A magistrate denied bond for Falcone, calling him a flight risk and a danger to the community because on top of the money laundering charges, he also faces a firearms charge. Now, bond was granted for Magluta, but then stayed because prosecutors appealed.
Magluta's lawyers will challenge that appeal.
His personal reaction is he's on the very verge of freedom, which would really be the proper result of the jury's verdict of last week, and he is hopeful that the system works and that he will get a bail review in Jacksonville or a lifting of the stay on Friday.
Prosecutors are fighting so hard to keep Magluta and Falcone behind bars because despite a jury's decision last week, they consider the two the biggest drug traffickers Florida has ever seen. Even though a jury acquitted them, prosecutors maintain the pair smuggled more than 75 tons of cocaine into the country during the 1980s. Because they've been in jail so long, awaiting a trial now over, it's unlikely convictions in the pending trials would land them in prison. They have years of jail time credit accumulated. Still, U.S. Attorney Kendall Coffey will not surrender.
We are going to enforce our responsibilities under the criminal laws to the maximum, and we're not going to walk away because this isn't a football game. This is the real world, and this is about our responsibility to do justice.
Our investigation also reveals the latest assault on Southwest Miami-Dade focuses on not only witness tampering, but conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction of justice, and perjury, all in connection with the Magluta-Falcone court cases.
Bernie thought the men came to buy his boat. Looks like it was his life that was for sale. Former drug convict turned government witness Bernardo Gonzalez Jr. gunned down behind the wheel of his Jeep, allegedly by contract killers. They also shot his younger brother, Umberto, once in the head. He was taken off life support today. Those closest to Bernie Gonzalez say they knew he was a marked man.
I was afraid for Bernie more than any of my other clients. He helped to put over 20 people in jail. It could have been people who were looking for revenge. It could have been people who he still might have testified against.
One of the cases Bernie was scheduled for, that of powerboat racer and accused drug lord Willie Falcone, reportedly Bernie's former drug boss. Coincidence or not, Bernie and his brother are the fourth and fifth persons linked to that case to fall victim to crime. In April, Bernardo Gonzalez was listed in an ad in The Champion, a law magazine, paid for by Falcone's attorneys, looking for information on those who would testify against him. Two others listed in that ad were shot last year. Both lived. But according to this government informant, Bernie's name and at least four others listed in that ad were also on a hit list. He says he heard Falcone's friends talk about in prison last year.
And they were talking about how they were going to get back at whoever spoke and whoever testified, and how they were going to teach, they were going to show the snitches or the government informants a lesson.
No comment today from Falcone's attorneys nor the government's prosecutors. The informant says he notified government agents of the hit list. He's afraid the killing is not over.
This is not just a car accident. These are people being killed in the streets. Innocent people. Umberto had nothing to do with this. And if the mother would have been there, or the old man would have been there, they would have gotten hit too.
Then witnesses against the gang started dropping like a judge's gavel. Luis Escobedo, who was going to testify against his old friends, was shot to death outside a Coconut Grove bar. No one was ever caught. Juan Barroso was going to tell what he knew about his old friends. Last August, he pulled into this gas station and was shot in the back of the head. He survived. The gunman escaped. The next to talk about the Falcone gang, Lazaro Cruz. He was shot outside his Hialeah home. He lived, but the attackers escaped. And yesterday, the latest on the witness list, Bernardo Gonzalez was gunned down. He died. Again, the gunman escaped. But the strangest death of a friend of Falcone was the closest to him. His wife, Ailina, was ambushed on the streets of Coral Gables last August. But while the other shootings may seem like someone's attempt to kill all the witnesses, police are certain she was not the target of a revenge killing, simply a victim of random violence.
Unbelievable. 4 of the people planning to testify against Falcone are gunned down. A well-financed plot to destroy the government's case against the drug group, or just a simple string of bad luck for those guys.
The victims were cut down by what police describe only as a, quote, significant number of bullets. Bullets that hailed down from this rooftop.
Employees are advising there is no access from the interior of the building to the roof.
In 2 minutes, no fewer than 75 officers and a procession of ambulances were on the scene as a helicopter hunted in vain for the shooter. 1 dead, 2 critically wounded, another hurt trying to dodge the bullets. One of the wounded is a man named Ray Cruz. He's the brother of a witness in a major drug case. In May 1992, someone tried to kill his brother Lazarus, but failed. He's one of 5 witnesses to be shot in the last 18 months, all of them about to testify against Willie Falcone and Sal Magluta. When you listen to what this witness says and consider the setup for the shooting, it sounds like an episode right out of the TV hit series Miami Vice.
Now, this is where the shooting took place, 4000 Northwest 36th Avenue. This company makes seats for executive aircraft, and police say that 5 men who work here pulled up about 9 in that blue and white Ford Bronco you see there. In the windshield, you can still see the tape left by the detectives to mark some of the bullet holes.
Police say the sniper was waiting in the perfect position on the rooftop right in front of the Bronco. This witness says a white car with a woman and 2 other men was waiting on this side of the building. That the gunman shouted something in English at his victims after the shooting, then scurried down to the waiting getaway car. The getaway well planned, at least enough to evade 75 officers, police dogs, and a helicopter.
Yeah, you just watched the life of Willie Falcone and his partner Sal. And it's a coincidence that everybody that was lining up to testify somehow got a bullet in their head. Yeah, that was a real coincidence. But you can't do nothing but respect it. Willie Falcone, from 10 to number 1. I really feel these the names that made the biggest impact on this city. And my yayo. A lot of stories, a lot of money. And that's what it is, man. Hopefully today somebody decided if they were going to become a lifelong hustler or not. Hopefully that somebody made the right decision. This is my yayo. This don't represent everybody's lifestyle in Miami. I know that. But it represents our lifestyle, where we come from, where we products serve, what they made us see, what we see, what we made happen. A lot of people don't like it. Right? It's not my yayo. I'm not made for nobody to like it. It's the boss and I'm out of here. Till next time, nigga.